a WikiVidi documentaries production. Don't forget to like and subscribe. Enjoy. David Byrne. David Byrne is a Scottish-American musician who was the founding member, principal songwriter, and lead singer, and guitarist of the American new wave band Talking Heads. Byrne is a multi-instrumentalist and is known for his distinctive voice. Since then, Byrne has released his own solo recordings and worked with various media included film, photography, opera, fiction and non-fiction. He has received Oscar, Grammy, and Golden Globe awards and been inducted into the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame. Early life. David Byrne was born the 14th of May 1952, in Dumbarton, Scotland, to parents Tom and Emma. He is the elder of two children. 2 years after his birth, his parents moved to Hamilton, Ontario, Canada, and then to Arbutus, Maryland, United States, when he was 8 or 9 years old. His father worked as an electronics engineer at Westinghouse. His mother later became a teacher. The family had left Scotland in part because work for his father's engineering skills was in short supply and in part because of the tensions in the wider family involved in his parents' mixed marriage, his father being Catholic and his mother being Presbyterian. Byrne recounted these events when he appeared on Desert Island Discs on BBC Radio 4 on the 18th of March 2018. Before high school, Byrne already knew how to play the guitar, accordion, and violin. He was rejected from his middle school's choir because they claimed he was off-key and too withdrawn. From a young age, he had a strong interest in music. His parents say that he would constantly play his phonograph from age 3, and he learned how to play the harmonica at age 5. In his journals, he says, "I was a peculiar young man, borderline Asperger's, I would guess." His father used his electrical engineering skills to modify a reel-to-reel tape recorder so that Byrne could make multi-track recordings. Talking Heads, 1975-1991. Byrne graduated from Lansdowne High School in southwest Baltimore County. He started his musical career in a high school band called Revelation. Then between 1971 and 1972, he was one half of a duo named By Zadie with Mark Kehoe. Their repertoire consisted mostly of songs such as April Showers, 96 Tears, Dancing on the Ceiling, and Frank Sinatra songs. Byrne attended the Rhode Island School of Design and the Maryland Institute College of Art before dropping out. He returned to Providence in 1973 and formed a band called The Artistics with fellow RISD student Chris Frantz. The band dissolved in 1974. Byrne moved to New York City in May that year and was joined by Frantz and his girlfriend Tina Weymouth in September. Unable to find a bass player in New York, Frantz and Byrne persuaded Weymouth to learn to play the bass guitar. Byrne gave her lessons. While working day jobs in late 1974, they were contemplating a band. By January 1975, they were practicing and playing together, while still working normal day jobs. They founded the band Talking Heads and had their first gig in June. Byrne quit his day job in May 1976 and the three-piece band signed to Sire Records in November. Multi-instrumentalist Jerry Harrison joined the band in 1977. The band released 8 studio albums before going into hiatus in 1988. Byrne desired to go solo, but it took 3 years until 1991 to announce that the band was breaking up. A brief reunion for a single, Sax and Violins, in 1991 occurred before dissolving again. The band was inducted into the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame in 2002, when they reunited to play 4 tracks, including Psycho Killer and Burning Down the House. Solo album career, 1979-1981, 1989-present. During his time in the band, Byrne took on outside projects, collaborating with Brian Eno during 1979 and 1981 on the album My Life in the Bush of Ghosts, which attracted considerable critical acclaim due to its early use of analog sampling and found sounds. Following this record, Byrne focused his attention on Talking Heads. My Life in the Bush of Ghosts was re-released for its 25th anniversary in early 2006, with new bonus tracks. in keeping with the spirit of the original album, stems for 2 of the song's component tracks were released under Creative Commons licenses and a remix contest site was launched. Ray Momo was the first solo album by Byrne after leaving Talking Heads, and features mainly Afro-Cuban, Afro-Hispanic, and Brazilian song styles including popular dances including merengue, son cubano, samba, mambo, cumbia, cha-cha-cha, bomba and charanga. His third solo album, Uh-Oh, featured a brass section and was driven by catchy tracks such as Girls on My Mind and The Cowboy Mambo. His fourth solo album, titled David Byrne, was a more pop-rock record, with Byrne playing most of the instruments on it, leaving percussion for session musicians. Angels and Back in the Box were the 2 main singles released from the album. The first one entered the US Modern Rock Tracks chart, reaching number 24. For his 5th studio effort The Emotional Feelings, Byrne employed a brass orchestra called Black Cat Orchestra. His 6th look into the eyeball continued the same musical exploration of feelings, but was compiled of more upbeat tracks, like those found on Uh-Oh, Grown Backwards, released by Nonsuch Records. Used orchestral string arrangements, and includes 2 operatic arias as well as a rework of Express 2 collaboration, Lazy. He also launched a North American and Australian tour with the Tosca Strings. This tour ended with Los Angeles, San Diego, and New York shows in August 2005. He has also collaborated with Selena for her 1995 album Dreaming of You with God's Child. In 1995, Byrne and Eno reunited for his 8th album Everything That Happens Will Happen Today. He assembled a band to tour worldwide for the album, for a 6-month period from late 2008 through early 2009 on the Songs of David Byrne and Brian Eno tour. In 2012 he released a collaborative album with American singer-songwriter St. Vincent called Love This Giant. In January 2018, Byrne announced his first solo album in 14 years, American Utopia, to be released in March through Todo Mundo and Nonsuch Records. He also released the album's first single, Everybody's Coming to My House, which he co-wrote with Eno. Work in theatre and film, 1981-present. Byrne was impressed by the experimental theatre that he saw in New York City in the 1970s. He collaborated with several of its best-known representatives. He worked with Robert Wilson on The Knee Plays and The Forest, and invited Spalding Gray to act in True Stories, while Meredith Monk provided a small part of that film's soundtrack. Byrne provided a soundtrack for Joanna Carletti's film, Dead End Kids, made after a Mabu Mines theatre production. Byrne's artistic outlook has a great deal in common with the work of these artists. In 1981, Byrne partnered with choreographer Twyla Tharp, scoring music he wrote that appeared on his album The Catherine Wheel for a Ballet, with the same name, prominently featuring unusual rhythms and lyrics. Productions of The Catherine Wheel appeared on Broadway that same year. In Spite of Wishing and Wanting is a soundscape David Byrne produced for the Belgian choreographer Wim van de Kiebus dance company Ultima Besh. In 1991, Byrne released a classical instrumental album The Forest, where some of the tracks were already featured as a score for 1988 Robert Wilson theatre piece of the same name. His work has been extensively used in film soundtracks, most notably in collaboration with Ryuichi Sakamoto and Kongsuon Bernardo Bertolucci's The Last Emperor, which won an Academy Award for Best Original Score. In 2004, Led Us Not Into Temptation included tracks and musical experiments from his score to Young Adam. Byrne also wrote, directed, and starred in True Stories, a musical collage of discordant Americana released in 1986, as well as producing most of the film's music. Byrne also directed the documentary Eli and the concert film of his 1992 Latin-tinged tour titled Between the Teeth. He was chiefly responsible for the stage design and choreography of Stop Making Sense in 1984. Byrne added Loco de Amor, with Celia Cruz, to Jonathan Demme's 1986 film Something Wild. Byrne wrote the Dirty Dozen brass band-inspired score for Robert Wilson's opera The Knee Plays. From the Civil Wars, a tree is best measured when it is down. Some of the music from Byrne's orchestral album The Forest was originally used in a Wilson-directed theatre piece with the same name. The Forest premiered at the Theater der Freien Volksbühne, Berlin in 1988. It received its New York premiere in December 1988 at the Brooklyn Academy of Music. The Forestry maxi single contained dance and industrial remixes of pieces from The Forest by Jack Dangers, Rudy Tambala, and Anthony Capel. In late 2005, Byrne and Fatboy Slim began work on Here Lies Love, a disco opera or song cycle about the life of Imelda Marcos, the controversial former First Lady of the Philippines. Some music from this piece was debuted at Adelaide Festival of Arts in Australia in February 2006 and the following year at Carnegie Hall on the 3rd of February 2007. In 2008, Byrne released Big Love, Hymnal, his soundtrack to Season 2 of Big Love. These two albums constituted the first releases on his personal independent record label Todo Mundo. Byrne and Brian Eno provided the soundtrack for the film Wall Street, Money Never Sleeps. In 2015, Byrne organized Contemporary Color, 2 arena concerts in Brooklyn and in Toronto, for which he brought in 10 musical acts who teamed up with 10 color guard groups. The concerts were made into a documentary film, directed by Bill and Turner Ross, and produced by Byrne. Other musical contributions, 1990-present. Byrne has contributed songs to 5 AIDS benefit compilation albums produced by the Red Hot organization, Red Hot Plus Blue, a tribute to Cole Porter, Red Hot Plus Rio, Silencio Morte, Red Hot Plus Latin, Onda Sonora, Red Hot Plus Lisbon, and Offbeat, a Red Hot sound trip. Byrne appeared as a guest vocalist/guitarist for 10,000 Maniacs during their MTV Unplugged concert, though the songs in which he is featured were cut from their following album. One of them, Let the Mystery Be, appeared as the 4th track on 10,000 Maniacs CD single, Few and Far Between. In 1992 he performed with Richard Thompson, their joint acoustic concert at St. Anne and the Holy Trinity in Brooklyn Heights, New York on the 24th of March, produced the album An Acoustic Evening, which was released the same year. Byrne worked with Latin superstar Selena in March 1995, writing, producing, and singing a bilingual duet titled, God's Child. This became the last song Selena recorded before she was murdered on the 31st of March. It was included on the singer's posthumous album Dreaming of You. In 1997, Byrne was the host of Sessions at West 54th during its second of 3 seasons and collaborated with members of Devo and Morcheeba to record the album Feelings. In 2001, a version of Byrne's single, Like Humans Do, edited to remove its drug reference, was selected by Microsoft as the sample music for Windows XP to demonstrate Windows Media Player. In 2002, he co-wrote and provided vocals for a track, Lazy, by Express 2, which reached number 2 in the United Kingdom and number 1 on the US dance charts. Byrne said in an interview on BBC 4 Sessions coverage of his Union Chapel performance that Lazy was number 1 in Syria. The track later featured with orchestral arrangements on his Grown Backwards album. In 2006, his singing was featured on The Heart's a Lonely Hunter, on The Cosmic Game by Thievery Corporation. He is featured on the tracks Money and The People Tree on NASA's 2009 album The Spirit of Apollo. Also in 2009, Byrne appeared on HIV/AIDS charity album Dark Was the Night for Red Hot organization. He collaborated with Dirty Projectors on the song Naughty Bine. In the same year, Byrne performed at the Bonnaroo Music Festival in Manchester, Tennessee. He also was a signator of a letter protesting the decision of the Toronto International Film Festival to choose Tel Aviv as the subject of its inaugural City-to-City Spotlight strand. In 2007, Byrne provided a cover of the Fiery Furnaces song, Ex-Guru, for a compilation to celebrate the 15th anniversary of the founding of Thrill Jockey, a Chicago-based record label. In 2008, Byrne and his production team turned the Battery Maritime Building, a 99-year-old ferry terminal in Manhattan, into a playable musical instrument. The structure was connected electronically to a pipe organ and made playable for a piece called Playing the Building. This project was previously installed in Stockholm, Sweden in 2005, and later at the London Roundhouse in 2009. It bears similarities to a series of installations created by New Zealand and Detroit-based artists Alistair Galbraith and Matt DeHenaro. which were recorded on their 1998 record Wire Music and on the 2006 follow-up Long Wires in Dark Museums, Volume 2. Byrne says that the point of the project was to allow people to experience art firsthand, by creating music with the organ, rather than simply looking at it. In April 2008, Byrne took part in the Paul Simon retrospective concert series at BAM performing You Can Call Me Al and I Know What I Know from Simon's Graceland album. In 2008, Byrne collaborated with the Brighton Port Authority, composing the music and singing the lyrics for Toe Jam. In May 2011, Byrne contributed backing vocals to the Arcade Fire track, Speaking in Tongues, which appeared on the deluxe edition of their 2010 album The Suburbs. Jerick Bischoff's 2012 album Composed features Byrne on the track, Eyes. In March 2013, he debuted a fully staged production of his 2010 concept album Here Lies Love at New York's Public Theater, directed by Tony Award nominee Alex Timbers following its premiere at Mosier earlier in the year. In May 2014, Byrne announced his involvement with Anna Calvis' EP, Strange Weather, collaborating with her on 2 songs, a cover of Karen Ann's Strange Weather, and Conan Moccasins' I'm the Man That Will Find You. In August 2016, Byrne was featured on Snoopy's on the Kickstarter-funded album, and The Anonymous Nobody by De La Soul. Brought to you by WikiVidi Documentaries. Would you like to know more?